live, and we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Weather Center Nazario. I'm News 6 meteorologist David Nazario, back with another update here on my ordinary YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We have a lot to talk about, but we are going to try to consolidate it to the best of my ability. We have a long next 4 days ahead of us. Possibly more than that, depending on exactly what goes down after the fact. So bear with me. We're going to try to get through all the latest information as fast as I can, but also at a reliable pace to where I'll try to cover all of our bases, and then I immediately have to bounce off this live stream and get some rest, because when I say it is going to be a long time or a long next several days, it is going to be long for all of us. Just to put it into perspective, it is 8 o'clock at night, and I just finished this because I'm tired, but we have a long road ahead of us, and we're all going to get through it together, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining. I see the chat is ready to rock and roll. This is our latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. So if you joined me this morning, we still need to be on the ball with finalizing our preparations in Central Florida. We have a large area of incidents with this system that will likely receive hurricane conditions regardless of where you are in the Central Florida area. The latest cone also does indeed have this blossoming to a mid, almost high-end Category 4 with a peak currently at 105 or 145 miles an hour as it rounds the outer periphery of the south central Gulf of Mexico and begins its east-northeast track up towards the west coast of Florida. Right off the immediate coastline, and our models are still singing in unison, this will start to feel the effects of wind shear. This will start to feel the effects of dry air. This will start to feel a lot of that frontal energy that's up towards the northeast or the northwest starting to take its toll on it. It's going to have dry air in hot pursuit of it the entire time it's moving across the Gulf. So it's almost going to be as if it's trying to defuse a bomb, and if it makes one wrong move, it's going to blow. And when I say that, it's going to fall apart. I wish I had good news to pass along to you all tonight. It does not seem like it's going to fall apart anytime soon. So I would honestly err on the high side for the time being. We still have at least 36 to 42 hours, like I'd mentioned yesterday, of quality time over water, but there is still that little bit of failed potential with this system. I'll zoom us down in so we can see where it is that we're expecting a track, and I want you to pay as little to no attention to that black line. Remember, the center is going to be much larger than that black line, and I feel anywhere from Clearwater down to Sarasota need to be prepared for hurricane conditions, kind of like this. This is where we really need to pay very close attention and be prepared. Just as I'd mentioned this morning, for those of you who tuned in, I don't want you going into this expecting hurricane conditions. I want us prepared for hurricane conditions, okay? There's a big difference. Expecting means you're ready to rock, you're going to take damage, you're going to see bad weather. I want you prepared. This way you are not afraid of whatever this system decides to throw at us, okay? I'm going to go ahead and move right on with this. We're not going to fixate on the track. We have not had any significant adjustments. We're going to talk this system. So first and foremost, I love this satellite shot. I really do. It's a beautiful shot. It shows us everything that we need to know, not only about the system, but what's going on across the state of Florida right now. Thank you to everyone who's saying hello. Daniel Schwartz, Just Dark, Mike Murad, I did see you in the chat, Nancy Shanks. Everybody who's saying hello this evening, it's great to see you all. We're definitely going to be all hanging out together. Tomorrow is going to start our continuous coverage over at News 6, so you'll likely see me on the News 6 YouTube channel and the Just Weather YouTube channel. I'm not too sure if Jonathan and I will be dual-hatting a lot of the streaming, but I know I will be live riding it out with you guys from News 6 for the next several days. It's going to be a long next several days. When I say that, I'm not joking, but you will be able to find me, and I'm so thankful that I'm going to finally have this opportunity to stream, to be available, to be present, to try to be that voice of reason and the voice of comfort as we literally ride this all out together. I'm going to be sitting in ground zero with everybody else. I need everyone out there watching right now to understand that. I will be in ground zero with everyone else. I'm not up in Virginia this time. I'm not safe and sound somewhere totally remote. I will be in the midst of this with everybody. So it's not like I'm going to be talking and, thoughts and prayers. No, we will be all in this together, quite literally. This is a small storm. I hope that jumps out at you guys. That has kind of worked against us. Notice here, the core of the system is tiny. Look at that. It's like a little bowling ball. Look at the state of Florida. You could probably fit 2 to 3 Miltons into the state of Florida, so it is small. This is going to remain that way. It is definitely going to stay on the smaller side. That has actually been what's been helping this system very quickly intensify and take on such a textbook hurricane shape. This is a very reminiscent, or I should say this is very reminiscent of Hurricane Charlie. I've low-key been battling the chills all day today because I'm feeling them down the back of my neck right now because this just brings back too many memories for a 13-year-old David at the time. Tiny storm. Look at the inflow along the backside of this system. Just look at all this fair weather cumulus ripping from out of the northeast, then out of the north, and then right up into the south side of the system. It goes to show this system is very healthy. It is definitely breathing. It is doing what it needs to do, and it has successfully sustained thunderstorms around its center all day today. For a brief window of time, a lot of us were blowing up on social media. And I don't mean posting things, but I mean a lot of us that talk and collaborate, we were freaking out. We were excited. We were like, oh, snap, is there dry air getting in there? And unfortunately, again, with these small systems, they're a lot more resilient. So we tried. We tried to get a small little dry air channel into the center, and this thing just popped. It popped. I'll show you something that's similar to the microwave imagery. It's not specifically microwave. It's like a micrometer, if you will. It's something similar to that. It's not specifically microwave imagery, but it has the same kind of mechanisms and the same physics for that type of shot that I'm going to show you after this. This here, right here, believe it or not, everyone, this is what was supposed to develop. That was supposed to... Notice there's like a little bit of a weak spin right here. You have winds here, you have winds right there, and you have winds over the state of Florida coming out of the south and east. Notice it right off here before that upper level cirrus kind of encapsulates it. This is what was originally... If you guys harken back a little over a week ago, remember how our area of interest, that little yellow blip, was down here at first before it transitioned over here? That's our original system. So... Technically speaking, we're receiving a very weird tropical/non-tropical amalgamation of our first area of interest. This is totally different. Milton is a totally different feature. This was our first one. This is that precursor event that everyone's been throwing around, that PRE. Everyone wants to throw an acronym on it. I'm personally tired of acronyms. Coming from the military, the Navy loves acronyms. The Air Force loves it. I don't want to talk. This is the first rain event coming across the state right now, and it's been raining steadily here. I'm not a fan of that. It's been raining on and off from light to moderate intensity out here. It comes down a little lighter, then it comes down fairly steadily, and I'm noticing already we're getting roadway ponding. Our river areas, our standing water is starting to slowly build up. And I can tell, regardless of where this system goes, we're going to have flooding. We're going to flood here in the upper Polk County area. So Milton is looking very good. We are fully symmetrical at this point. We've seen convection wrap around its center of circulation. I feel like it's only a matter of time now before we finally see a subsidence eye, the sinking eye effect in the center. I'll switch over to that microwave style imagery here, and you can see earlier, I'll go ahead and pause the loop because it is in this loop. Let me go ahead and pause, rewind. Right there, we thought, oh, shoot, there's going to be some dry air getting into it. You see that right here, guys? Right there. Looked fairly reminiscent of what happened with not only Helene, but also with Francine in the Bay of Campeche. We were like, yes, this is it. It's going to kind of keep it tame. It's going to strengthen slower. And then you go a little further in time, bam. Right there. You see that? Boom. Right there. Just a nice solid, where I have my little pink dot drawn. Bam. Immediately fired up another hot tower, another cumulonimbus, another embedded thunderstorm, however you want to call it, and wrapped up completely. Now it is perfectly closed off. You have your northerly, northwester, northeasterly winds here. Your center is now fully encapsulated. There's your center right there. So we no longer have, at least we're very close to no longer having an exposed center. We will likely start building an eye wall as we go throughout the night, and it's only going to continue to work its way forward from here. You can see on the water vapor shot, you can actually kind of see it at the very tail end of the shot right there. There's your center fully walled off. Initially, it was still a little west side biased, but now it's finally getting fully wrapped up in itself. We still have convection firing on the east side. You can see right there we have that little unzipping effect, if you want to call it that, as the convection fires on the northeast side and wraps around it. There's our dry air. This is what I was telling you guys about at the start of the briefing. This dry air is going to be in hot pursuit of this feature. It's going to be waiting for an opportunity to zap it and take it out. You can already see there's lots of dry air over continental Mexico, over southern Texas. It's been brutally hot up there. They're in a very severe drought setup right now. So a night and day difference between what's going on in the Gulf and what's going on with us and to the north. It's crazy. This is what I love about weather so much. It's absolutely nuts how much variation there is. Look at this very distinct line in the water vapor. We're down here in Florida, we're muggy, we're warm, we're tropical, we're rainy, we're overcast, we're gloomy. But then up there in Louisiana, New Orleans is sitting pretty right now. Biloxi, Gulfport, Mobile, Texas is burning up, but they're sitting pretty right now. They're not dealing with anything. It's all Florida here in this case. And this also helps to paint a very distinct picture of where this system is going to go. So if you're concerned about it riding north or riding south, it's very unlikely at this point. This here is the leading edge of all that barrier-style high pressure, that force field we talked about this morning. So it's not going to suddenly ricochet and go up towards the north. That's why I still think the GFS is a bit of an outlier. I'll show you in the ensembles how much of a distinct difference there is between the ordinary GFS and all of its ensembles. This feature is predominantly going to track off towards the east-northeast, and we're still trying to get an exact fix on where this thing makes landfall. I am personally still sold along the Tampa Bay, maybe just to the immediate south of Tampa Bay area. I'm thinking St. Pete, Tampa, Clearwater, in that general area down to Sarasota is my current margin of error. Ever since the hurricane models received their recon data today, they have not moved a muscle. They have not, and I'll show you. Here's a look at the super ensembles. So what I have pulled up here first and foremost, and I'll go ahead and move my head to the left-hand side so we can see the full chart. What we have here is obviously the deterministic models are red. Euro is missing. We still have that weird outage. Green is the GFS. Notice the GFS, the outlier. It's way the heck up here, almost into St. Augustine. Then we have the UK model, the green, way down towards the south, or no, the blue, excuse me, way down towards the south. And then the ensemble mean is pretty much right around Sarasota, maybe just barely to the north of the Venice Beach area. It's right in between that area, if not closer to Sarasota. So notice the GFS is distinctly an outlier here. This is the operational GFS. This is not its ensemble mean. The GFS, I really feel, is far too north. It's far too north. You look at the pattern, you come back to our satellite imagery here, and we're already losing the opportunity for this thing to go any further north. That is the leading edge of your high pressure. That's the change in the air mass up there. So anywhere with this dense shading of dry air, the dense shading of orange, that is your front coming down. That is your high pressure nudging south, sinking in like hot lava from a volcano. So it's not going to suddenly boomerang and try to punch right into it. That's just not how it works thermodynamically, physically. It's just not going to happen. So if you look at the deterministic compared to the ensembles here, when I switch to our ensemble means, bang, now you see the ensembles are honing in. So for those of you who still feel as if the track is uncertain, the track is weird, it could go way this way or that way, no, it's just our deterministic models, the GFS, are really, they're still struggling for some strange reason. But if you look here, now we actually have the Euro, we have the Canadian, we have the UK, and we have the GFS. And notice that they're neck and neck with one another for the most part. The UK model is keeping it a little more weak, and that's why it's further to the south. But notice here we have our mean, which is the mean of all the ensembles. The black one, which is why it's the biggest circle, is the conglomeration of all the members put together. What are every single computer model available to us on here saying? The black line is all the model members together kind of shaking hands and saying, this is what I think is the best solution. Notice that the Euro is right there, right into Bradenton, coming right across my house. The Euro has not budged. The GFS mean is right there into St. Petersburg. The ensemble mean is just to the immediate south of that. And then the not the GEFS, excuse me, the UK model is a little bit on the slower side, and it's a little bit on the weaker side. And if you go a little further in time, the Canadian model, for some reason, trends to the south, but once again, it's also weaker. So, I'm not too sure what the Canadian model is seeing, but it is way, way, way too weak. It's not initializing correctly at all. We're already into the 970s, and the Canadian is still forecasting it to be around 980 at landfall, so it has not caught up. The European model has caught up. I will show you that. So that's why me, personally, with the Weather Center and with News 6, I really think right in through here is where our landfall is going to be and where this system is going to track. I really do. I really do. With that being said, here's the European model. So the Euro is still struggling out there. It's initializing way too weak. Notice we have a 978 millibar hurricane, and this thing still has it as a minimal tropical storm. 993 millibars. This is at 8 o'clock. Well, this is 9 o'clock now, local time. So we're fast forwarding an hour, and it's still way too weak. But you take it through time, and we finally catch up to where we are real time. So the model is definitely under forecasting this big time. You fast forward the clock, and you see it takes that fateful arc, turns up towards the north. This is probably one of the strongest Euro runs we've had, truthfully. Easily one of the strongest runs. Look at that, down to 948 at peak intensity. That is definitely a major hurricane. Cat 3, somewhere in the Cat 4 realm. Remember, the central pressure is going to be behaving differently because this is a smaller system. So smaller system, lower central pressure, you're going to have faster winds. So this could be approaching Cat 4 intensity at this point. And then as it approaches landfall, notice right there, right on in, pretty much cutting into the greater Tampa Bay area as a Cat 2, maybe a Category 3 according to the European model. This here has not moved an inch. It is not. You could literally go out there and look up in the sky if you wanted to and see where the model hypothetically is coming ashore, and it has not moved even feet, in my opinion. It has not moved feet. The Euro has been dead set that Tampa Bay, the Bay, will receive this system head on. And then from there, it is not looking good for the rest of us. This goes just barely to the north of where I physically live. This goes right into the greater Orlando area. Pretty much right through the attractions, right through the northern four corner states. Counties. I'm so used to saying four corner states. As a Cat 2. So that's why I emphasize everybody in this chat right now. If you've been talking to other folks, if you've been sharing this information, like I said in the morning and yesterday, I'm not worried about the subs. If you want to trust me with the information, I applaud you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. That's why I'm so thankful that tomorrow I'm going to be riding this thing out with News 6, able to bring you that round-the-clock coverage, just round the clock. Now, like before, where I had other obligations, just round the clock from when I wake up to whenever it is I go to bed. We're going to be right there with you every step of the way with the Pinpoint Weather Team. And this is why I emphasize we need to be prepared for hurricane conditions as this moves through. It's going to be moving fairly quickly. This is an hourly chart. It comes ashore, according to the European model, right around midnight, Wednesday into Thursday. And notice, by the time it's in Orlando, we're already just barely past the midnight hour. This is around 4 or 5 a.m. So it's going to be moving fairly quickly as it cuts across Central Florida. It's not going to weaken very quickly like Ian did. Ian was a huge flood, huge surge maker because it moved so slow. This system is definitely going to be moving a bit more at a Charlie pace. Charlie came ashore in Fort Myers. By the time I got to Kissimmee for my native Floridians, you all know we still got rocked by hurricane force winds, sustained hurricane force winds. So you cut that distance to travel over land down, and we are definitely going to receive a lot more of what Milton initially has to offer than before. Now let's get right into the hurricane models. Let me shift my head back over to the right-hand side. This is our halves A. At 12Z, we had a little bit of our recon data in, a little bit more of that recon data in for 18Z. 0Z is going to be the big denominator here. 0Z will have all of our analysis data in. We have upper level jets flying around the environment out there all the way up to 45,000 feet, highest points in the atmosphere to really get a full three-dimensional look at what's going on out there over the Gulf of Mexico. So 0Z here in the next 4 hours is going to be pivotal in seeing whether or not there's going to be a shift up, shift down, increase in intensity, a decrease, what the long-range predictions look like. So this is halves A. This is the 18 Zulu model run, and when I tell you guys, these models, since getting that recon data, have not budged. They really have not. It's pretty impressive, to tell you the truth. So you can see already major hurricane. This is as we start the day tomorrow. This is 11 o'clock Monday morning, 967 central pressure. This is definitely major Hurricane Milton at this point. You fast forward the clock, barely squeaks to the north of the Yucatan. There are still some folks thinking this could interact with the Yucatan and bust and just completely fall apart, in which case that's when the dry air is going to come in. The dry air is going to ruin it. It's not going to have a chance to come back. So we still have a shot at dropping this thing altogether and avoiding it. This thing could bust and false alarm on us, but a lot of the doctored meteorologists, the folks who've been doing it longer than a lot of us, are really not too confident on this fail mode. They're really not. So let's not put all of our energy and intensity into wanting this thing to wish cast it into the Yucatan. Is there a potential? Yeah. But here, a lot of our models are consistently just to the north. Down to a Cat 4, could be a Cat 5 at this point. Continues to strengthen down to 918 millibars. If this does verify, that is definitely a Category 5, without question, if this verifies. And the reason I'm putting a little more intensity on explaining this to you all is because this does have real-time data plugged in from our aircraft circulating the system. So that's why I'm saying, there is still a shot this goes Cat 5, even for just a brief window of time. It will likely not be a Cat 5 when it comes ashore, so rest assured we are not going to be doing battle with that. But you can see we'll fast forward all the way to early Thursday morning. This is 2 a.m. and notice right there, boom, right into Clearwater. Right into Clearwater as a 958 hurricane. This would be worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, 110%. You can't cut it any other way. I'm not going to use a whole bunch of sensationalist words. This would be worst case scenario. I'm just going to leave it at that. You will likely be evacuated. I have an article and a page pulled up at the very end to show where it is they will be initiating evacuations first thing tomorrow. So be prepared. Everybody in the chat right now, I say this with the utmost sincerity and seriousness. I'm going to look right into the camera as I say this. If you do not have bags prepped, if you do not have a plan, and you are on the immediate coastline of West Florida, and they get those mandatory evacuations underway first thing tomorrow, you are going to be caught with your pants down, metaphorically, because they're going to be, they will. Kevin Guthrie, the director of emergency management, says this could be the biggest evacuation since Irma in 2017. This could be the biggest, beyond Irma, if anything, is what he's saying. So please, I emphasize, have everything you need ready to rock and roll for tomorrow morning. Make your plans, please. Make your plans. Talk to your friends. Talk to your loved ones. Make sure your family is roped in. Evenly distribute your situational awareness. That's my favorite thing to say on this channel. That's my military coming out. Maintain your situational awareness. A 958 millibar hurricane, even with an eroding south side system coming in like this, look at that intense pressure gradient here right into the bay. Helene was like an hors d'oeuvre at this point. This will be disastrous in every sense of the word, and that's all I'm going to say. You go forward in time, and Orlando is right up next. Orlando is coming in hot. This is maybe right into Sumter County, Lake County, Orange County, maybe just to the north of Polk and Osceola, but regardless, remember the dirty side of this system, even though the convection is going to be to the north thanks to all the shear, the strongest winds are going to be here. because of how weird this system is moving. It's going against the flow. It's going against the flow. So this is where you have to flip the script. It's not going to be the right front. It's going to be like the bottom right quadrant of this system. So even if this were to verify and your thunderstorms are to the north, you have opposing flow on the north side. So on the south side, when you take into account the direction, the momentum, the mass, and then the winds steering this feature, it's the Four Corners counties, the Orlando Metro, Altamont Springs, you name it, Kissimmee, Disney, Celebration, Haines City, the Upper Polk, Upper Osceola, Lake Toho, down to everybody. You're going to see the strongest winds with this feature. You might not get a lot of storms and heavy rainfall, which is a good thing, but you're still going to see a lot of damaging winds. A lot of damaging winds. HAFS B, alarmingly, has been verifying the best even before having the recon data in it. So, same thing, same song and dance. A little further to the north of the Yucatan than what the HAFS A had it. Still bottoming out and blasting down to a major hurricane very quickly. A little more conservative, relatively speaking. It doesn't go down into the teens. It stays right around the 920s, 930s before starting to fill a little bit. Feel the effects of that shear. Notice how that southern eye wall begins to fall apart. You have a lot of that north side loaded convection. Look at that supercell activity streaming up the west coast. Tornado waterspout risk is going to very quickly go up for our west and southwest viewers out there. The rest of South Florida. And then again, right on the nose, right on the button, as they say in boxing. Again, very dangerous setup right here. Very dangerous setup for sure. Major hurricane right into St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and then it kind of nudges just a little bit more eastward as opposed to going even further towards the northeast. Because remember, we have the front right up against it to the north here. That front is plastered up against it, so it's not going to just hit Florida and keep going like this. It's going to hit Florida and then curve back towards the right. It's going to kind of do what Ian did, but further to the north. So that's still something we have to dial in towards the back end of this forecast, is when it hits that force field and ejects to the right. All of our models are starting to show that now. And if you notice, it's staring at us in the face. 962 millibar hurricane right smack dab in the middle of the metropolitan area. Again, this really, really harkens back to Charlie. I'll go ahead and pull us over to the graphic here just so we can kind of do a bit of a comparison. So there's that lake. There's our lake that is actually severely, it looks like, eutrophied here. So that means that this model, the A and B, are putting a major hurricane right there. That's what the hurricane models are predicting. A major hurricane just chilling. Just chilling. I have to stay the course and brief you guys all this information, but just to put it into perspective, where I'm sitting right now is right here. Not joking around. I am not joking. I am not. So if you guys think I'm excited, if you guys think I'm woo, no, a 962 hurricane, I just got through saying the worst of the impacts are going to be right in through here. That's me right there. On the day this hits, I will be rocking at News 6 in this general area, so News 6 may even get the eye of this system. So I may be dead center this bad boy as it rips across the peninsula. So I can't say this enough. We need to be prepared for hurricane conditions as this traverses the peninsula. I said it to a lot of folks in the congregation today. I don't know who is watching right now from church, but I'd mentioned to you all, this is the real deal. This is a real thing. It's not a distant threat that we're forecasting, and we're going to get outer bands. We're going to get tornadoes, and the flooding, and then it's going to go this way. No, this is the one for us. This is going to be it for us. This is Osceola County. I can see that this is Osceola County right in through here, just based on the lakes. This is Polk County right there. This is roughly Hillsborough County right in through here. This is Pinellas County. This is likely where this system is going to traverse. It's going to come ashore somewhere through here and work its way through like so. Somewhere through this general area is where this system is going to go. Right on top of us. So anybody in Central Florida, anybody who evacuates from West Florida, anybody who is hunkered down and riding this thing out in Central Florida, we are definitely going to be riding this all out together. We will all be in the trenches together following the continuing coverage of this system. And then it finally exits the Space Coast as a borderline Cat 1, Cat 2 hurricane. National Hurricane Center is thinking Category 1. So, yeah, I've been waiting for the H-Wharf to come in. I want to see what the H-Wharf is saying. It looks like we finally have the model data in. I want to see what the H-Wharf says. Yeah, so the H-Wharf is taking it well to the north. I personally, I don't agree with this. I really don't. I don't agree with it being this far to the north. Notice it takes that turn to the right way too late. It's moving east-northeast, east-northeast, and then there's that turn. Turns distinctly to the right. It takes like a 25-degree angle right there. I think this is too far north. I really do. I really do. We will be right into that frontal boundary if it goes this far to the north. So I disagree with the H-Wharf here. I really do. Just based on what I know about synoptic meteorology, I have 7+ years of synoptic, 8+ years of synoptic meteorology under my belt, and looking at the pattern, looking at the distinct high pressure, strong high pressure, cold front draped across almost parallel to the Florida-Georgia border, I can't see this moving that far to the north, getting into that gradient, and then moving off to the right. Only way it would do that is if it goes from tropical to non-tropical, and I really don't see that happening. We have a compact system. It's not going to suddenly transition to a frontal system or a mature system in the blink of an eye as it makes landfall. I can't see that. I can't realistically see that happening. We'll take a look at WPC's most recent charts just to do a bit of a sanity check. Wednesday morning, yeah, see, look at that. These are the latest charts provided by CPC, and I'm looking right here into South Florida. And this one, I believe I can pull this in. There we go. I can zoom this in so we can see here. So remember what I described to you all earlier this morning. These fronts here are the leading edges of your high pressure. It's just a change in the air. That's all these fronts are. They're not silly descriptors. They're not anything more than just a blue line that shows us weather folks and us forecasters where the leading edge of our high pressure is, and that is right in through there. So and this is 12Z Wednesday. This is Wednesday morning. Remember, we're now pushing this to a late in the day Wednesday. So this front will likely be somewhere in this general area. That is our force field. So as this system's on approach, I can really see it biasing a quicker turn towards the right than if it were to go up into that frontal boundary. Because again, we have a dominant high pressure to the north here. Right here we have a 1020, 1020, 1016, and all that high pressure seepage down through the Ohio, Mississippi Valley, down into Dixie Alley, the Southern Plains. That's that dry air that's going to be hot on its tail. That dry air is going to be trying to wrap into it every step of the way, but that's also what's going to be that force field from Georgia. The Carolinas receiving it. I saw some comments on my earlier live stream. Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, you guys are in the clear. This is a purely Florida situation here. Carolinas, Georgia, you guys who are recovering, Alabama, Tennessee, everybody who had to deal with the brunt of Helene, you are off the hook for this one. This is most definitely going to be a Central Florida, it's just a Florida situation. Even the panhandle of Florida is likely to see minimal impacts because of this force field right there. That force field, those lingering areas of frontal boundary right there, as the name implies, boundary. Yeah, no, that's another thing as well, Mike Bauer. Pay no attention to the actual isobars here. This is analyzed data from a long while back, so this is going to be very inaccurate. Pay no attention to that. But yeah, that's why I'm biting on the hurricane models in this one. I'm definitely biting on the hurricane models. They just seem to make the most sense when we're talking large-scale, big-picture weather pattern. we're going to get ready to wrap up, and I'll take some questions before we close out the live stream. I just wanted to show the evacuation orders that we are in currently. Pinellas County, mandatory evac is ordered for all residential healthcare facilities within evacuation zones A, B, and C. Pinellas County, A, B, and C. Mandatory evacuations. It is going to commence at 1:30. It looks like this should have started today, as a matter of fact. Should have started today. And then Pasco County, evacuation info. Mandatory evacuations will go into effect Monday, October 7th at 10 o'clock for the following evacuation zones A and B. Everyone living in a manufactured home, mobile home, or RV anywhere in Pasco. Everyone in low-lying areas or areas prone to flooding. Everyone in an area ordered evacuated by local authorities due to life, safety, yada, yada, yada. You guys will all be evacuating. You guys will all be evacuating. Same thing with Manatee County. Evacuations of all persons in level A and B and all residents or visitors in RVs or mobile homes ahead of the hurricane beginning at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So tomorrow is when the evacuations are going to start going down. This is your map currently. I'm wondering when they're going to initiate Hillsborough County evacuations, at least the west side. I feel as if the west side should be starting up. I don't know why we don't have Hillsborough, at least the west side. I know they did it with Helene. They had the right side or the left side of the county highlighted for that storm surge risk evacuations. They should be doing that right now. They should, hopefully they're going to initiate in the morning, because if the models verify, Hillsborough is also going to take a big brunt of this feature. So there you go. That's pretty much all I have to say tonight. Again, short and sweet. Want to get all the critical information across to you. The key takeaways here are we need to respect this storm. It's demonstrated quite a amount of resiliency over the last 24 hours. The timetable, to put it into perspective, we were looking at on Friday when I worked with everybody. On Friday, we were looking at a 1050. Then it went up to 30-70. Then it went up to 70-90. Then we had tropical depression yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Someone quote me if I'm wrong. Everything's blurring together. But we had a tropical depression. Then the immediate advisory after that, from 11 o'clock to 2 p.m., tropical storm. Then today, very quick, hurricane deepened over 20 millibars, over 25 millibars in the last 24 hours. So this system is a force to be reckoned with. It is a very resilient system. It's a small system. These small systems are very, very finicky. They're very, what's the word I'm looking for? Feisty. That's the word I'm looking for. They are very feisty. Extremely feisty. And we are now going into diurnal maximum for the overwater. And you can see this convection is still just cranking. That system is still blowing thunderstorms. It is blowing thunderstorms. Let me switch over to let me see if we can get an even closer look. Here we go. Let's dig in on Milton. Yeah, look at that guy. We need to be taking this serious. There will be some weakening before it makes landfall, but just looking at the satellite shot, this dude is going for it. It is going for it right there. There's your center. That eye is going to show itself. It is definitely going to show itself. Small storm. It is a small storm, okay? This is not a Beryl. This is not an Ian. This is not a Helene. This is not a Wilma. It's a small storm. But the problem with that is these small storms pack such a punch. When this thing hits, I need you all to realize that since it has such a tightly wound core, the damaging effects are going to come on very fast, and they're going to go away very fast. But that's the kicker. It's going to seem like a slow and steady buildup until someone turns on the switch, and then it is ripping out there. I distinctly remember Charlie. The buildup to Charlie was unlike I'd ever been through before as a 13-year-old amateur, little fun middle schooler who loved, weather. And I distinctly remember the roar of the wind when that center suddenly came up at us out of the southwest. It was tearing through the breezeway of my apartment. Things were flying, trees were in the middle of the road. I had never heard anything like that before. Never heard anything like that before. It's right here. It's literally right here in the back of my mind as if it was yesterday, the roar. The utter roar. It wasn't a whistle. It distinctly was that ominous train sound. Just, yeah. So, still have some time. We still have time until this gets here. Please pay very close attention to emergency management officials. Please have a way to receive warnings. Yeah, M.Moon, exactly. It sounded like a train just flying down the middle of the road of my apartment complex. I remember that. I remember it like I'll never forget it. So make sure your cellular devices are all charged up. If you have portable batteries, have them with you. Make sure you have battery-operated equipment with you. Have a go bag ready to rock and roll by tomorrow morning, okay? And this is it. This is it. This is, like I've been saying, this is the real deal. This is as real as it gets. It's one thing to broadcast on storms that are not happening in your immediate area, but it's another when you have to report on them as you're sitting in the middle of it, so it hits differently. So if you guys are new to this channel and you're looking for an authentic weather source, this is as authentic as it's going to get. I'm not on News 6 just yet, but tomorrow, obviously, we're going to hold it down. We're going to maintain a professional demeanor. We're going to answer as many questions as we can, and I'm going to be right here with you guys alongside with the rest of my wonderful team of meteorologists in that studio who will be all tied to this storm all the way through and beyond the end. So it's honestly, it's going to be, it's going to be all right. It's definitely going to be all right. We're going to get through this. All of us are. Everybody in this chat right now, we're going to get through this. Ain't nothing but a peanut, as Ronnie Coleman would say, okay? We are all veterans to hurricane season. This is not our first rodeo, and if it is, well, you have a lot of veterans out there, a lot of seasoned Floridians who will walk you through the process. Zero Z model is out. I was hoping it would pop off before we end the stream so we can take a look and see what we've got. All right, so we haven't really toned down very much. The general thinking is still Cat 3, Cat 4 with our H-Wharf going up to Cat 5. So that hasn't changed very much. This has held very steady. That did not change at all. I'm telling you all, these are locked. These are just about locked in. There's going to be some small wobbling. There's going to be, it's like, being hopped up on 3,000 of these and trying to draw a straight line with a pen. But if I go back to 18Z, boom, to 0. Look at that. In fact, the only change really here was it looks like our blue and teal lines are now more tightly clustered to go right over Central Florida. Right over Central Florida. This is 18Z. This is 0Z. So I'll go ahead and zoom on down for you guys again so we can see. There you have it. We have a couple outliers to the north. This is our H-Wharf, and I believe that the H-Mon is up there as well. The H-Mon and the H-Wharf have been so high for some reason, but all of our models and the best track solution model, the gray line right there, is why the National Hurricane Center has not budged on the track. And they likely won't. I personally really don't see the Hurricane Center going up or going down. They're going to hold it. And if you notice, the ensemble spaghetti plots here really reinforce even my forecast that I'm advertising to you guys. Here and here need to be very much so ready to rock and brace for hurricane conditions. Teddy J, thank you for being a fellow service member. It's great to have you in the chat. Half my life East Coast, half on West Coast. Only direct hit I'd been in was a Cat 1 in Texas while in the military. Well, Milton said, you gonna learn today. Sorry for making a really whack joke right now, but we got to shed some light on it somehow. I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream, folks. It is 8:44. I went overtime. I wanted to keep this to about a 30-minute live stream because I'm going to be available all tomorrow, all Tuesday, all Wednesday, all Thursday. So if you have questions, please drop them in the comments section down below or fire out any big questions. I'm talking heavy hitters, okay? And again, I don't say this rude or anything like that. I'm talking heavy hitter. I'm going to have to think about this question, okay? Don't ask, what about my street? No. I'm going to be available to talk about that for the next 96 hours. So if you have a heavy hitter question on why this, what's that, yada yada, absolutely fire it in the chat right now or drop it in the comments section below. You can definitely see South Florida, we are rocking and rolling. North Florida, we are rocking and rolling. This is a Central Florida storm. Venice will be impacted. CrossFit Northport, if you look at this, our general track trends put this into the West Coast from Venice, Sarasota, Bradenton, up to Clearwater. Even at this point, yeah, I have to very humbly and modestly pat myself on the back, because if you look at the spaghetti plots here, they stop at Spring Hill and they come down to about Fort Myers, which is what I told you guys yesterday. I don't know what this one's doing. Clearly an outlier, but it's coming together. We have some confidence here, and I'm glad we have so many folks watching, and you guys are sharing this information around, because slowly but surely we're seeing it come together. So. What could cause this storm to wobble south towards the Fort Myers area? It's really going to depend on that frontal system. See, now that's an awesome question, Michael. Thank you for a heavy hitter. So we have that front and that high pressure to the north here. Depending on how fast that system walks down, or that front edge walks down into North Florida, is going to dictate when it takes this curve. See how all the ensemble, or all the plots here, show that whoop, that little bend, that fork in the road? That's what we're going to have to watch for. And that's why I full-heartedly believe it could happen up here or it could happen down here. A lot is going to hinge on the intensity of the system, on its final approach, and what the level of gradient, basically how cool the air is back behind that front, and how strong our high pressure coming across the eastern United States is. CrossFit, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. How bad do you think the impact will be in Cape Coral? Off the top of my head, I don't know where Cape Coral is. Let me look that up. I'm sorry. I know I'm a Floridian, but I just don't recall off the top of my head, because there's a lot of places I really haven't explored around here, truthfully. Oh, Cape Coral, right now, you're sitting okay. You're probably going to be seeing storm surge. You're going to be seeing onshore flow, gusty winds, but you are way to the south. I really can't see it getting in that far to the south. If anything, it would probably be more of a Punta Gorda threat if it did jog that far to the south. I don't think it's going to go as far south as Sanibel Island, Fort Myers, anything like that. Looking at the map here, I could say Northport, Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda would probably be the southern. I'm talking like a generous southern jog. Venice, I could definitely see. Sarasota, Longboat Key, Cortez, Bradenton. I'm still looking at Sarasota, Bradenton. Maybe Clearwater at this point. If I had to go big time margin of error, Spring Hill to Punta Gorda is probably my large scale estimate. If I had to narrow it down to what my gut is telling me, Clearwater to Sarasota is where this thing is going to come ashore. Jacksonville will likely see tropical storm level impacts because of the onshore flow on the north side of the system. Orlando may not experience a Category 3, but the greater Orlando area should be ready to embrace and take on anywhere between 70 to 100 mile an hour winds. As you saw with the HAFS A and B models, as well as the European model and the Icon now, we have a lot of convergence right over Central Florida. We need to be prepared for hurricane force winds, whether it be in the way of squally gusts that'll do some damage, or dare I say sustained winds. Yes, David Lee. Expanding wind field as this system starts to break down could make the storm surge worse. Absolutely. Great question. Another excellent question. As this system does start to break down, the wind field is going to expand, and that surge is also going to broaden out and be a little bit more prolonged. Smaller hurricanes can indeed produce a little bit. It's not proven in statistics, but they can produce more tornadoes. It also depends on their outer lying conditions, their outer lying environment. But yes, because they are so violently rotating in the center, any feeder bands on the outside that get pulled in towards the storm are really quickly going to feel that directional shear. Ocala needs to be prepared. Tampa needs to be prepared. Omar, look at the map, buddy. Look at the map. The villages need to be prepared, yes. Disney area, Kissimmee, my original neck of the woods, prepared for hurricane conditions. The pink one, I'm not too sure. It might be the Canadian model. Let me zoom out from here and let's take a look. I'm curious to know myself. Yeah, it's the Canadian model. I don't know why the Canadian model is on an island by itself. Davenport, Jessica, we are neighbors. I'm in Haines City, like right down the road from you. We are gearing up for 75-mile-an-hour winds at the minimum. Volusia County should be prepared for hurricane conditions. April, thank you for reinforcing that fact. I'm happy to answer a couple of location questions, but at the end of the day, just look at the chart. Look at the chart, folks. It's cutting right across the heart of the peninsula. Lakeland, you're 45 minutes to the west of me. You will be seeing it first before we do. It's going to knock on your door before paying us a visit. Yes, Joey Games, one last phenomenal question before I round out the live stream. I really do have to get some rest, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a long, busy day tomorrow and the rest of the day, or the rest of the week. That's why, if it goes just to the north, Bay Area of Tampa, really bad storm surge, period. If it goes just to the south, marked difference for the Bay Area of Tampa. That's all it takes. If it goes south of your area, you're going to be in the offshore flow. If it goes to the north of your area, you're going to have the onshore flow. Worst case scenario is going to unfold. Worst of Florida is going to be across the central peninsula. I'm not going to try to put it down to a county. This whole quadrant of central Florida is going to receive what all Milton has to offer. Tiffany C., you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm excited because I get to be with the team. I get to be with you guys, but I know it's going to be a long ride. It is going to be a long ride. Meteorologists predict a weakening storm at impact because that's when the shear in that frontal boundary to the north is going to start to pick it up. The jet's going to start to pick this system up, start to shear it apart. That dry air is finally going to be allowed in, and that's what should start to weaken it. Some of our model runs still don't think it's going to weaken all that much, so we need to pay close attention to this as it's on its final approach, the last 12 to 18 hours of landfall. Oh, you're very welcome, CrossFit North. No. Again, T. Martinez, we know. But again, such a small change in the track is going to pay dividends just because of the way these systems spin. Remember when I showed you the gradient driving all that wind, all that water right up into the bay? I'm going to extend my stream out once again because that's a pet peeve of mine. So at the end of the day, we really just don't know. We know. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking to you guys if we didn't know. So let's go back in time a little bit. Let me zoom us out because we're still very zoomed in. There we go. This here is worst case for Tampa Bay. It's not that we don't know, but these systems wobble once again. It's not going to just go boop and just go straight in. I wish that were the case. Drink 5 energy drinks like you're shotgunning them at a party, like at a kegger. Drink 5 energy drinks and then try to draw a straight line as best as you can. This is what these systems do. So that's why I say it's going to mean the world for Pinellas and Hillsborough County if this thing barely lifts to the north or goes to the south. If it barely squeaks to the north, bad news. If it squeaks down to the south, still bad news, but it's not going to be as bad. It's going to be that much. You might get smart fans out there either missed it by that much or just barely squeaked it in there. And yes, David Lee, excellent point. Yes, it could. That dry air intrusion, which is what we saw with Helene, could definitely help with tornadic activity. That's why we had that localized inland outbreak for Georgia, parts of South Carolina. I even had some tornadoes up in Virginia because of this system. Oh, well, South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, you guys are good down there. Fort Lauderdale is way off towards the southeast of this system. This thing's going to be far more of a Central Florida threat, and if you notice, as this thing gets sheared out, you may not even get a tremendous amount of rainfall from it. So, southeast Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, Miami, you guys are comfortably able to ride this out. You really don't have to worry about very much. You really don't have to worry about very much. Mike, thank you very much for joining us. I do appreciate it. Oh, yeah, you're welcome. No worries. Again, like I said, this box here needs to be prepared for hurricane conditions. You need to be. Everybody outside of that box, you need to continue. We have a hurricane coming, so you need to be watching it regardless. But everybody in this box, based on everything that I've seen and the best of my ability predicting this, everybody in my little pink box right here, my favorite little doodle, we need to have you ready to rock, ready to lock and load in defense for this hurricane coming in, okay? Just be prepared. Not saying everybody in the box is going to see full-fledged hurricane conditions, but I'm just saying we need to be prepared because this is where this ripping-style hurricane could come through. We could have a major hurricane, if not a very high-end Cat 2 parked over Disney World. And that is so crazy to say. Milton, Cat 2 hurricane just chilling on Space Mountain. Not even joking. Not even joking. So, let's go ahead and close out. Now we're way over time. I got to go grab a shower and get to sleep. I got to be up at not even at the crack of dawn, like several hours before the crack of dawn. And I'm probably not going to be able to get a workout in tomorrow. My one last little grasp of, normalness. We need you for the full-fledged hurricane landfall. David Lee, I am going to be there. I'm going to be riding this out. I will be available. So as long as you have capabilities, as long as you have the means, whether it be through a phone, a tablet, an iPad, a computer, a laptop, a radio, you will find me somewhere. So we will be with you. So as things are going down, I'm going to be right there next to you digitally, ready to rock and roll through this. Promise you. Wholeheartedly promise you that. Teddy J, I couldn't argue with you whatsoever, and thank you so much for the $10 donation. He says, the best saying is better safe than sorry. Spring Hill could very well be in the 60 to 70 mile an hour wind field, if not even stronger than that, if this thing decides to wobble towards the north as it's moving in. That's all she wrote, guys. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. Please make sure you click that like button if you haven't done so already. Share this information out there. Get it across to everybody out there in Central Florida. Anybody you may know, care about, anybody you've encountered that you have you have a way of communicating with them, just let them know. Let them know, okay? God is good and perfect. Amen. But with that being said, folks, we're going to see you again very soon. Can guarantee that. I will not be live first thing in the morning because, actually, I might be. I'm pretty sure I will be, actually. Once I get into the studio and ready to get everything booted up, you'll either find me on News 6, on Just Weather, or I may try to go live on here one way or another. I will be seeing you, actually, tomorrow morning. Come to think of it, it's built into my schedule already, so we will be live again tomorrow morning. So I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream, and still got time for this to change. We still have time for adjustments. We still have time for some upsets. Didn't want to see that hot tower at the end of the loop there. Did not want to see that hot tower. Right there. Right, look at that. I didn't want to see that. Did not want to see that. Right there, you have the dueling CBs right there, wrapped right around the center. I did not want to see that. So this thing is still definitely intensifying. It is still getting stronger. This is not a system that we've seen since Beryl. Not a system. We haven't seen a system like this since Beryl. Francine, Debbie, even Helene got some dry air up in there, and it tamed it for a little bit. This system is just going to crank. It's hit that turbo boost. It's hit the NOS for my Fast and Furious folks out there. That blow up of thunderstorm activity right there. Boom. 1, 2. Strong CBs right around the eye right there. So this thing is definitely going to continue to blossom up. Look at all the CDO, cirrus dense overcast that's firing up. Tiny storm, but it is definitely a mean storm. I couldn't agree with you more, Bruce Gorman. It definitely has an attitude. So thank you all very much for watching. Drop a comment in the comment section down below. I will make it a time. I'll make a point to get back to you as soon as I can. Like this video, share it around, word of mouth, share the video, share the channel, whatever you want to do. Download the News 6 app. Check us out, clickorlandonews6.com. In fact, if you guys, you know what? I didn't think to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that before we lose the entire live stream. Let me show you guys something that I'm particularly but humbly proud of. There you go. So find us, stick with us the rest of the week. Make sure you guys are ready to rock and roll with us, and we're going to get you through this every step of the way. I don't know why I didn't pull this up until just now, but very, very dang proud to be a part of that team at News 6. So yeah, I will be live with them tomorrow. We will be in the trenches, gearing up and making the final preparations before this thing hits, and we are all going to step through it together. We've been here before. We're going to do it again. And, you know, I know that 2024 has to come to an end after a little bit, but, you know, we're probably going to do it again. This is not the last time we're going to be doing this. This is not the last time. So we just got to get through it. We just have to get through it. We got to take it on the chin. We're in the boxing ring right now, and we got to take this right cross we got to take it to the chin, and we're going to be okay. So we'll talk to you guys all again very soon, and we'll see you in the morning. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. I hope despite the rain here in Central Florida, you had a beautiful weekend. You got your preps done, but you also took the time to enjoy. Remember, that is critical in a situation like this. Take the time you need to step away, disconnect, and just take in the positive vibes. Be amongst positivity, be amongst happiness, and just emanate that radiation and stick together. Okay? So we'll see you again soon. We'll see you tomorrow. But until then, this is Weather Center Nazario, signing out.